It's an easy answer, but movies. Grew up, watched a lot of movies, wore out a lot of tapes, and it kind of took me a while before I realized that that's something you were allowed to do, that you could do, was make movies. And around college, I worked on a TV show, weekly TV show, where we had to make videos every week, and I realized, oh, I can do this. So after college, I just started making movies with the same people. It was weird because there's always a feeling of, am I allowed to do this? Am I breaking some rule that I don't know? And you never know, because the first movie I made was, first real movie I made was a comedy, and obviously with that you have no idea. It might be funny to you, and then someone else not find it funny. So we shot in a cabin in the woods. It was an Evil Dead riff, and I just had no idea how it would be taken, if anyone would ever see it. I was just excited to be doing it. But yeah, fear. There's a fear to it, but excitement. I mean, I wouldn't be doing it if still doing it if it wasn't exciting. Well, it was wild because I played the Canton Film Festival up in Ohio, and I met a real nice guy named Pat Battassini, and against all odds, we won the Canton Festival, and he said, well, you got to send it to Shriekfest, because he knew Denise Gossett. And I looked at Shriekfest, I'm like, oh, this is a big deal. Like, I'm not, okay, I'll send it to her, but it's a $250 movie about haunted bed sheets. We'll see. And then they took it, and she's been the nicest person. I wish I could have gotten out to LA, but the timing didn't line up. But I know a lot of people who went out to LA, and they're like, yeah, it's great. The festival is as wonderful as you could hope. And I love it out here. I'm a Florida guy, not officially, but in spirit. And this theater's great, and the people are great. And Sanford's such a nice little town that, yeah, Shriekfest is wonderful. So we shot it essentially over a weekend. There was an extra day at the end. The reason you only see the shed in the dark, if it would have been daylight, you would have seen that there's someone's yard immediately to the right and no trees immediately behind the shed. Probably the hardest, not for me, but for Morgan, the lead, Morgan McLeod, the hardest part was being dragged by chains, because we just dragged him. And so we had to like pad his arm, and he knew how to wrap it, and we put furniture movers all up and down his back. And we just kind of whipped him around. And every take I was like, buddy, you fine? You fine? Is everything all right? And he had a good time doing it. And then for the sheets, we only bought 3 because money, and then we just cloned them. So anytime there were more than 3 in a shot, we had to figure out how you split it and then hide another one or the remaining ones in the background. Some of them were hard to see, but yeah, so that's how we got 5. About the only times we ever needed to shoot outside is when it started raining, but that's probably a fun fact for every movie that's ever shot outside in the history of cinema. Trying to think if there's any other real juicy stories. The remnants of the Clancy character played by Alex Bryan. It was dog bones that we painted with acrylic paint and some chunks of wood. The sheets came from Walmart. They're very nice sheets. I don't know. Those might be the best stories. I can't think of any more off the top of my head. Top 5. This is tough. All right, in no particular order. The Thing, the John Carpenter Thing, has to be in there. The original Evil Dead, the Evil Dead. Probably the 1982 Alone in the Dark, directed by Jack Shoulder. Shucks. Night of the Creeps. And I'll say The Guest. I'll put a new one in there, but yeah, The Guest. It's probably a fairly common answer, but I would probably say John Carpenter. Because yeah, I got to meet him once at a convention, and he was nice in the small exchange we had. I'm like, yeah, this is the guy. He's who I steal the most from. As you might be able to see, that's the guy I would want to work with. On every form of social media, at D-Day Films. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And then, yeah, we have a new movie on the circuit now. Another Thing movie called The Things with the Glowing Green Eyes. So as Beecher's Gate winds down, keep an eye out for that, and then whatever else I decide to do, that's the first place you can find out about it. I always wanted to be a writer, because writing is fun and safe, and you can hide behind a keyboard. If money was no object, I would want to be a writer, a director, and I would just be happy doing those two things. I'd like to make my first feature sometime within that period. I'm going to keep writing. I have a feature co-writer, Wolf Stahl. He did a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff on Beecher's Gate. We're going to keep writing. I'd like to make money writing these things. That's not a romantic answer, but bigger, better. You know, getting bigger budgets and telling different stories, the stories that I want to tell. Not necessarily having to eat Little Caesars $5 pizzas on set. That's a bar I'd like to hit. I always like in movies, the movies I make, to kind of theme park dark rides. So you kind of go into the dark, you bump around, something might spring and you'll laugh at it, and then something more threatening might spring and you don't laugh at it. But at the end, once you hit those last doors and you open up and you see the daylight and you realize it was all a lark, it was a good time. That sigh of relief and that kind of appreciative applause. I want it to be fun, I want it to be entertaining, and I want it to be a ride. I don't think you'll ever see, to use the Evil Dead tagline, the ultimate experience in grueling terror from me. I don't think I have that in me. But all of my movies, hopefully when you see the Dangerous Days logo come in, you know, all right, you're going to be entertained. For horror, the very simple line from Halloween, "Death has come to your little town, sheriff." It's such a... Because John Carpenter, who has said he doesn't like writing, he's good at it, as he co-wrote with Deborah Hill. I like that line because it's so elemental. And so someone says that in real life, you laugh at them. You're like, all right, slow down. But it's the perfect movie line, and that within the world, the slightly heightened world of movies, it fits so well. If not that, it would have to be some line from my favorite movie of all time, Ghostbusters. I don't know, there are too many to choose, but that's the best answer I got off the top of my head. Do it. This movie that played at Shriekfest, meaning in LA and now in Florida, cost us $250 in a weekend. Made with people that I've known since college, with essentially the same speed, the same techniques. If you've got a good story to tell, I'm assuming a lot about my own movie here, but if you've got a good story to tell that no one else can really tell, and be very honest with yourself about that, make it. If it's too expensive, write something that you know you can do. Our special effect was bed sheets and 10 feet of chain from Home Depot. That's all I got. Do it. You know, there's a million reasons not to make a movie, but there's only one good reason to make it, which is you got to make a movie. And if you feel that reason, do it. Coming at you live, well, not live now, but live once from Shriekfest, Orlando. I've just had the interview of my career, and if you don't know, I'm Jeremy Herbert, and if you want to see any more interviews like this, check out thecutiepie.com.